Hi, this is Rabbi Tzvi Mandel of Kahal B'nai Yisrael, Community of Jewish Friends. Just want to end what I mentioned before, the verse that King Solomon said when he built the temple. He said to Hashem that the temple is made for all human beings, so that if a non-Jewish person comes to pray, please answer his prayer as well and protect him as well. This is what the great Ramesh Teitelbaum wrote in the Kameya for this non-Jew. Next story. So there was a very simple wagon driver by the name of Label who was known throughout his town. Very simple but good person, reliable, kept his word, and wakes up in the morning, and he woke up already before it was even light. First thing, he wakes up his children and tells them to go out to make sure that the cows are milked. Then his wife gets up and she turns on the fire so that he could have something warm before he goes on his long trip, which he'll be heading out of town for all day long. Especially in the cold winter, you need something hot to drink and to eat. And he gobbles through a davening, a prayer, like a simple person. He didn't understand much of what it meant, but he knew that he's a Jew, and this is our special connection to God. Hashem loves us and protects us so much. And in fact, he believed in it so much that when he finished the davening, he said that day's psalms, that day's Tehillim. He wasn't always so religious and excited about saying Tehillim. However, he was a person who, whenever the Holy Baal Shem Tov came to the city, he would be from the people that would go to him and go into him and write a kvittel. And the last time the Baal Shem HaKadosh was there, a week ago, the Holy Baal Shem Tov told him, Label, no matter whatever happens to you, don't ever give up. Just have emunah and betachon in Hashem, faith and belief in Hashem, and as ugly as the moment seems, don't give up. The holy sages teach us in Tractate Brachas that even if there's a sword on one's throat, ready to slaughter him, he shouldn't give up on his faith in Hashem and pray to Hashem. Another thing I want to tell you, said the Holy Baal Shem Tov, that I want you, first of all, to say the day of Tehillim every day, the day of Psalms after morning prayer. And second of all, I want you to, whenever you go out, make sure to say the Tfilas Haderech, the special prayer for people that travel, and that's going to rescue you. So, Reb Leibel the Simpleton was an unbelievably great person because of his faith and his emunah and his honesty with people. And he says goodbye to his wife and to each one of his children, kisses them the goodbye, tells them what they have to do today, and he's on his way. Picks up his passengers. It's barely light outside, so when he passes by a person's house, shouts out to them, and they come running out. Everybody knows Label. Good morning, Label. Okay, finish your services. Yep. Everybody jumps into the wagon. And they're riding a long time. And in order to get to the next city where everybody works, they had to go through a very, very dark wilderness. In the wilderness, the trees are so high on both sides that even when it starts becoming light, there it's still pitch dark, and they're traveling, and all of a sudden there's a big wind. It seems like a storm is coming. And so they start chatting with each other just to take away their attention from the atmosphere, the scary and cold atmosphere. Then they start singing a song, start singing a Chassidic nigun. And when they were almost in the next city, all of a sudden, Label hears some people around the wagon and thinks to himself, this is no place where people walk. What's going on? He looks around, and to his utter fear and dismay, he sees a bunch of robbers, murderers, standing with the long sword sticking out, coming towards his wagon. Starts to go faster and faster, and they run faster and faster, and they finally catch up to him. Stops the wagon against his own will, and they come over and tell all the people, everybody out. And then they tell Abel, everybody into the wilderness. They chase them in the wilderness, chasing them, cursing at them. And they tell the people, 5 minutes, you will be dead and buried right over here. Forget your families, forget everything you ever had. And they start screaming and crying, and nothing helps. And the people just get colder and colder in their attitude. And Label also is standing by a tree there, and everybody's saying confession, Shema, and confession that a Jew says before he passes to the next world. And of course, Label is also saying his confession. And then he reminds himself what the Baal Shem Tov just told him a week ago. Label, in the worst condition, even if one has a sword on his throat, don't give up. Hashem loves every Jewish person. Hashem loves us all and every single one of us, and he just wants us to shout out to him, and he shouts out the whole prayer of the traveler over and over again. He didn't know much of the translation, but he knew that this is what the Baal Shem Tov told him, and he trusts in Hashem, and he gains this more faith and more joy. And all the people are standing there looking at him, and the robbers are looking at him. And one of the robbers puts the sword back in his belt, in his holster, and he goes over to the rest of them and says, these are true God-fearing people. I don't know who they are, but we better not slaughter them, because I'm sure that if we hurt them, then the God that they're praying to is going to hurt us. I ain't going to do anything wrong to them. And so they go over to all the people. And first they go over to Label, the wagon driver, and they say, we see that you're a God-fearing person, you really are. And we have a rule that any human beings that come past us, slaughtered to death. And it's been our golden rule for decades. But you people, we're not going to slaughter, because we know that God's going to take revenge. So you may immediately leave. We're not going to do a thing to you. And they run away themselves. They go back. And these guys were like, they were happy, but they were petrified. They still couldn't believe. And they had to run all the way back to the beginning of the forest where they had come from to begin with. Finally, sitting in the wagon, Label whips the horses to go back home. By this time, it was already late during the daytime. Everybody went back home, and before they went home, they all sang the Hallel together, danced, and went home to relay the most beautiful story to their children, to teach them how they should always trust and have faith in God.